Okay, we're testing. We're testing. Testing, testing. Testing, testing. Testing, testing.
How are you testing?
You hear it? Okay, good. Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, you know what? Just a minute. So we can't hear her because why? But she's connecting to audio. That's why. Okay.
Okay, that's what it is.
Yeah. As soon as you connect to audio, we'll have you test the system to make sure we can hear you. Okay. And then we'll put you on mute. Is that all right? Or maybe she can't hear me.
She's got audio problems.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yes, great.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Perfect. All righty. So we'll, if you don't mind, we'll keep you on mute until we get to your item. Should be about 7 o'clock. Do you have an agenda? Do you want me to forward you one?
I online pretty easily.
I'm sorry? Okay.
Am I lagging or is my audio not working very well?
I think it's coming in and out.
Can we go this way?
Hmm? Yeah. Okay.
Literally every.
Hi. Wow. Yeah, anywhere is fine. Okay.
We're good.
Okay. Yeah, we usually. Yeah.
Testing my audio. Is this any better?
That is perfect. We can hear you.
Okay, great. And then I had a slide deck that I could share. I don't need to use it with my presentation. Were you guys going to present that for me? Should I share my screen or should we forego that and I'll just use audio?
Yeah, if you could share your screen, I think they'd appreciate it.
Okay, that sounds great.
You gotta move this
Yeah.
up.
No, no. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
They'll be out in just a minute, guys. Thank you for your patience. You can all talk. It's okay. Thank you, though.
Okay, hang on.
Gavel.
Private children.
Making sure the agenda changed too, right? Okay.
Gonna gavel us in at 6:32. And if we could have the flag salute.
Yes, Aaron. Aaron's daughter, Emily.
Oh, Emily, can you lead us in the flag salute?
Here.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I was having these guys in the front do it here.
Oh, good.
Oh,
Oh, there you go.
perfect.
All right.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, go ahead. Just like we do at Loma.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Item 3.2, closed session report. We met, we discussed legal matters, no action was taken. We discussed general superintendent matters, no action was taken. And we discussed the dates for the CTA negotiations is January 27th and February 13th. No action was taken. Do you have any written correspondence? I think so.
Yeah, I didn't think we did. But
Okay. I don't think we do have any, but, all right, in that case, do we have any public comment in regards to anything on our agenda? All right, in that case, moving on to recognition.
Great. You can see we have a crowded room today. I know, exciting. And we're glad it's getting the temperature up in here a little bit too. It's a little cold out there. So we had our season 2 of fall sports. So we start with these cross country, and then we've got now all of our sports have finished, and we wanted time to be able to bring them all here. So we have both our boys volleyball teams, girls soccer team, and wrestling as well here. So we're really excited. So I want to kind of just highlight some of this. So I'm going to start off with boys volleyball. So if you're boys volleyball, were any of our students here from boys volleyball? Any? Just step forward a little bit. There we go. And is Coach Nate or Coach Pedro, are you guys either here? I didn't see either, but okay. So the coaches for the JV team was Coach Nate Jones, and the varsity team was Coach Pedro. And so here's what we had. Volleyball out there was very personally. I have a NCAA Division I daughter playing volleyball in college, so I'm very excited about anyone that plays volleyball. And by the way, parents out there, hint, hint, there's a lot of money in boys volleyball because it's such an up-and-coming, growing, huge, popular sport. So JV, the boys had a season full of self-triumph as they were able to get better and better with each passing day. The lads learned to rely on and lean on each other and truly become a group of brothers. The varsity team, a new challenge faced our varsity team this season as they were put into a new system with whole new challenges. All could try out for this team and led to some tough rivalries and excellent character building. The lads fought hard all season, just barely missing out on the playoffs on the last day of the season. So they had the last game to kind of go, and it would have put them into the playoffs for varsity. But it was exciting, and it was really good. I got to watch them from the very beginning when I was, it's always fun to watch that very first practice to like towards the end of the season, and they've gotten a lot better. So congratulations to you representing the boys volleyball. We appreciate you very, very much. So stay there. And I'll have you, I know, right? Awkward for a moment. Girls soccer team members. Any girls soccer team members here? Come on up here. We're a girls soccer team. And the coach. So where's our coach? All right.
Can I stand next to Adam? Hi.
It's kind of funny. One of you is taller. Okay. So girls soccer team, we had one team, our varsity team that went out there. This season brought a new coach to our school, and in their debut year, were able to help the girls make it to the playoffs. I know, right? A tough season that went down to the final day as well was the cultivation of excellent team synergy and camaraderie, as the girls had always believed in making it to the end. So we're super excited. It was really fun watching you guys grow as well out there. And we had a bet on whether or not we would see a yellow card or red card for the coach, and she managed to only get a yellow card. So that was good. And it was a technical thing. It had nothing to do with subbing at a wrong time or subbing. Like, you know, so we loved it, and we thought it was great. And it was super wonderful to have Michelle on that, and she brought her son Tice around as well to help out with coaching. So it was spirited and fun. So super fun, right?
It was so much fun.
Yeah, it was great. I love watching it. All right. So I'm imagining the rest of some of the people here might be part of the, small wrestling program we had this year. So if you're one of the coaches for wrestling and one of the wrestlers, could you come on up here? Just kind of form a spot up here. So you guys keep, oh, there you go. All right. So Coach, just rough ballpark number, how many total wrestlers did you have this season?
We started with about 40, and then kind of whittled down from there. I think we paid for 30-something.
30-something wrestlers, right? That's huge. And that's fourth grade, fifth grade, fifth through eighth grade. So both, we have both of the teams up here, the squads, varsity and JV. This season we had the most athletes that the wrestling program has ever seen. Truly an accomplishment under the leadership of our many coaches. So we had head coach Jeff Scooch, and we had assistants April Fulton, who's our custodian during the day, Cliff Barber, and Allison's coach as well, helping us. So a lot of coaches, because we have a lot of bodies moving around in that room next door. So under their leadership of the many coaches, we won a majority of our duels and went into the postseason ready to fight. The JV squad showed that they are ready for the next step by performing incredibly at the league finals and placing first overall, which is huge. I think when I talked to April, one of the first times that's ever happened. And then our varsity squad also had a wonderful performance at league finals, coming in second overall, very close, down to the end on that one. And we even had an athlete go on and win a county. Coach, do you know who that was?
Yeah,
Colton Manuel. So we had a wonderful run. Coach, anything you wanted to say about the program this year?
No, we had a great year. We also, in the whole county of 40 schools, we ended up fourth in the county finals, and we had 2 other places, which is not easy.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I learned to watch matches now. I understand some things. I understand points now. I didn't before. I had no idea what that meant. But it was amazing to watch, and it was great having them right next door to us. Their room they took over was room 12, and just hearing them all out there, like 40 of them getting ready every day, tying shoes and blah, blah, blah. Just the energy, and I don't know how you controlled all that energy, but it was great. And so I'm hoping that some of our guys go on and gals go on. We have, how many girls compared to boys? We had a bunch of girls.
I think we had 5 girls compete in the first ever girls county championships this year, and they all placed.
Wow. And as any parents looking for a scholarship, another opportunity, female wrestling, huge money, and you love the Midwest, it'll be great. So we're super excited. We would love to have you guys and coaches come on through and shake the hands, because we really kind of are proud that you guys represent our school so well. You take that uniform seriously, and you put it out there too every day. So we're hoping many of you come back and help us in CT Future Sports, or go on and jump down to the high school, especially to any of these sports, and jump in on the freshman squad. Maybe make the JV and varsity, and we'll see you on the stage of college. It'll be awesome. So come on through, guys. Congratulations. There you go. Congratulations. Oh, there you go. Congratulations. So I think you was my one volleyball player. Thank you so much, Coach. Hey, Coach.
Coach.
What's your name?
Hi,
How are you?
Coach.
It's Coach. I think you put a jersey on her and let her go out.
I know. I think that would be a.
I'll take one. I can sub in.
Yeah. Okay, so my next recognition I want to bring up, we're going to do our student leadership, and we have 2 different opportunities for leadership, one at Loma and one for CT. And so at our Loma school, we did a little bit of a change this year, and I wanted to have them talk a little bit about it for the Loma. So go ahead.
We have a Loma Leadership Club this year, and we have In the Loma Leadership Club, there were many applicants, 4th and 5th graders, and 16 of those 4th and 5th graders went through and were accepted into the club based off of a rigorous application and interview process. And since then, we have been working on some leadership skills and identification of our own qualities as leaders to enhance and use throughout this year. So I have the Leadership Club members, I'd like to have you come up, the ones that are here, and introduce yourself and list 1 or 2 of your qualities that you picked out as leaders.
Hattie, can you start?
As a leader, I'm sure you can.
Two of the qualities I chose were determined and I listen to others' ideas. My name is Hannah, and 2 of the qualities I chose were listening to others and empowering. My name is Kessler, and 2 of the qualities I chose were kind and honest. My name is Chloe, and 2 of my qualifications that I chose were that I include others and I'm caring.
My name is Katana, and 2 of my qualities are that I am persistent and a problem solver.
My name is Amelia, and I chose 2 qualities. I chose empathy and honesty. Hi, my name is Elsa Cantor, and I chose 2 qualities were I'm a role model and I lead by example.
Hi, my name is Melody. My 2 qualities I chose were brave and including others.
Hi, my name is Jasmine. My 2 qualities I chose were brave and include others.
Hi, my name is Mia. My 2 qualities I chose were a trainer and a role model.
And my name is Ivy, and the 2 qualities I chose were kind. Hi, my name is Lily, and the 2 qualities I chose was honest and always learning.
Great.
Thank you very much. We have subcommittees of outreach, event planning, environmental, school family liaisons, and advertising. So look forward to lots to come from these folks. Thank you guys.
I know. Come on through this way. We love shaking hands, so come on out. I know, right? You get 2 times. See, and I told you I'd see you. I met you right after school. I know you have. Some of you guys have so many roles. It's exciting. Congratulations. Welcome to leadership. Welcome to leadership. Way to go. I know. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Yeah. Oh my God.
Karen's
Good job.
Oh, is that right?
Thank you for all you do. Karen's
And then I have the luxury of, for those of you that were just in the Loma one, you can move over to the CT leadership, which is called ASB. And so I wanted to, Param is our, Param and Tony Arias are our ASB helpers or our club advisors. And so for that, she left me a statement. So we have that our CT English Middle School ASB members have been busy this year. They're traditionally elected. They run on a campaign and they get elected. And then we pick reps. So during the fall, they led a very successful Red Ribbon Week campaign during which they hosted a table with information and educational resources. They distributed giveaways like pencils, stickers, bracelets for participating in the events and activities. Our students have been hard at work planning ways to make their school an even better place to be through community service and engagement. In fact, this week, and I saw the email go out to our custodian and maintenance staff, in fact, this week they launched the Start of Trash Team at CT. Students can even earn some community service while beautifying our campus. ASB continues to promote school pride through Spirit Days and activities. They have several projects they have been working on that are not yet ready to be announced, but we are so proud of these students and the leadership and resourcefulness they continue to show. And they wanted to give many thanks to their ASB leaders. So their president is Arav Gupta, Vice President Will Froelich, Secretary Arjun Harit, and Treasurer Soren Kramer. So if you're with the group, if you're any of the reps, 8th grade reps, any here? Do we have any of the 7? Come on up, there we go. We had Everett, Ethan, Logan, Moxie, and Ezra as 8th grade reps, and we had Emily, Liz, Zach, Grady, Kibe, Charlotte, Evie, Logan, Rosalie, and Sydney as 7th grade reps, and then Zara, Amelia, Henry, Josie, Hazel, Michael, and Zachary as the 6th grade reps. And so we're super proud of all of you guys and all that you're going to do for us. I think we also had spirit leaders. Logan, well, some of you guys are in dual roles, I think, right? Spirit leaders could be reps that are in that spot. So that's exciting as well. So we're super, super proud of you guys and helping. I look forward to trash day. I can't wait. I can't wait to see the
Are
trash
they gonna
day.
wrangle the crows?
I know, right? I thought that our kids were, I really did. I was like, oh, our kids must be, sometimes sloppy. They're probably not sloppy at home with you guys. But I watched one time outside my window because I thought for sure it was the kids that left the mess. And it turns out we have some very smart crows. I watched a crow absolutely sit on the edge of a yellow trash can and a little bit at a time with his beak, pull up the trash bag liner and then step on that part of it, go back down, pull up the liner, go back down, pull up the liner. Like he did this for I watched for literally 10 minutes, sorry. I wasn't working. But they pull the trash and then they pack out what they want and then drop the bag again. And they just throw it out of the can. But they're that smart that they know to pull the bag up and get out. And so you guys are going to have a really fun job of making friends with the crows. But we'll also help. I think we're going to be installing trash cans that have hopefully crow resistant, because I'm sure they'll find a way to beat it. But trash lids that sit on top and won't necessarily allow them to pull out. But yeah, I'm excited for what you guys do at campus. I always love leadership on middle school, and so thank you for being such a large group and willing to put yourself out there sometime too. I think that's always scary. So appreciate the role you guys are doing. Let's give them a round of applause and then come up to the class. You again?
So busy.
There you are. There you go. Nice sweatshirt. Sons of UC
Good
Davis,
job.
man.
Aggie.
The Aggies. I love the
You like the
Aggies.
heat.
Hey, oh my God, that was hot. And that's all I had for recognitions. Our science camp people will come in February to give you an update on science camp from 5th grade.
Thank you. Thank you, parents, for bringing them. Got seats.
Yes, you go.
It's audit night. It's a rip-roaring time. We have an over-under on number of questions.
I know, right?
All right.
I love those dials, by the way. Those are cool. Puzzles.
Reports from our board of trustees. Denise, oh, Noel.
Welcome back, everyone. And so I just want to say, as you might know, that I'm also a Los Gatos Lions Club, and on December the 13th, Lion John Kuntzman and myself presented an award to 7th grader Vivian, art student with Helen O'Day for now. And she placed first at the club level for the Peace Poster Contest. And this year's topic was Peace Without Limits. And at the District 4C6 level, she was a finalist. I also attended the sing-along. I love it. The K through 5th grade. And then we sing along with them and the parents and the teachers. It's such a wonderful day. Morning, I should say. And every day I read a mindful moment. And then they give you a daily extra. So this is by the number, 70 million. Number of Hershey Kisses produced daily by the Hershey Company. That's my report. Thank you.
She didn't bring us any candy.
I was just saying I could make it 70 million.
Ron.
Yes, I don't have anything to report, but I am in awe of 70
Million.
Hershey could, I don't know.
And I forgot to bring the kisses.
Erin.
I have nothing to report.
Okay. And the only thing I would like to note is that we have the Screenagers showing coming tomorrow at 6:30. If you have not got your event ticket, go to LPJUSD and go to events and buy your ticket.
And we will be allowing sales at the door too. We have over 50 people so far.
Yay.
So we're excited.
All right, so we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Oh, staff reports? Okay. So just letting you know where we are on some things. So kind of getting into the throw of about 5 vendors that we're paring down for elementary science to see which options might be good for next coming years for elementary science. Sports-wise, our flag football and our girls basketball team, we have 1 girls basketball team this year, did well today, came up short, 24-14, but it was a great first outing for them. They have great killer defense. We just got to work on the offense, but amazing, amazing defense. And then flag football had a great time. For the first time, bringing something like 40 kids out to a field to do a JV and a varsity flag football game, co-ed. It's fun. So we're learning as we go. We call it, this is our first season. Everyone's learning as we go. So we didn't realize that we had need of mouth guards. It's a requirement or you forfeit. So we made quick runs. Our coaches made fast runs to sports stores down the hill to fire up all the mouthpieces we could find. So they could play that day. One of the things that I wanted to kind of push on is that last year we had offered one of our students an opportunity for a math competition called put on by the American Math Competitions Group called AMC. And Zemo, who was a 6th grader last year, had come up in the top 5% nationally of those who took this online competition and was really kicking himself because he was sure he could have gotten a perfect score. And he's taking the 8th grade test. He's doing the AMC 8, which I looked it up because I was curious. It is the hardest of all of their option tests. They have 8, 10, and 12 grade. And Math 8 is considered the hardest one you can take. They say that it's best if you want to practice for that one, you should do the Math Olympiad and Math Counts. And I've done Math Counts, and that's hard enough. As far as I've overseen and adjudicated that, I can't imagine how hard this one is. So, but the great excitement was we thought we'd just have Zemo and we would advertise it. We have 17 kids now that are going to try to take it. And Zemo is taking both. Now he wants to take the 10th grade one as well as the 8th grade as a 7th grader. So it's going to be exciting. But 17 math students that want to, risk it all, put it out there. Like, it's tough. They're going to take the math competition 8th. So we'll let you know how it goes. It's later this month in January. It's an online 40-minute test. It's got to be proctored by our teachers. So hats off to Delia Rowland and Radhika Nefian, who have said that they would go ahead and stay after school and make it work for our kids. So I'm just excited about that. Bringing those kind of things inspires more thinking around those topics. So it's kind of like why you'd have a science fair, why you'd have math camps, why you'd have reading, stuff like that. So I'm excited. Super jazzed that it's so many kids willing to do that because that's nerve-wracking. The governor's budget, I'll be attending that on the 21st. I'm going with Denise from O'Hara and Sandy Fitzpatrick. We're going to carpool all the way to Sacramento, see what's going on, and come on back with lots of information about how much we have in the coffers, and there's just we're flush, it's overflowing. They couldn't believe property rates have just tripled. I know. Probably not. Well, if you've seen, there's some information that's already been let out. Anyway, it's not as bleak for now, but it's not super great either. And then I will be at the wanted to let you know we'll enter a letter for next week, but we did get our halfway through differentiated assistance letter from the county that said that we've made it halfway through the 2-year process. So this year, hopefully, we'll knock it out of the park as well, which from our data that we're getting daily from Amy and her crew, Lisa Sullivan and stuff, we're doing really well. I mean, I was looking at our average daily attendance percentage, if you just kind of look at it, from since the beginning of the year until yesterday, on average is higher than 95, 96%, which means that that's how many kids come every day to school. And the more seat time they have in front of these experts, the better they can do. So we're just super excited about that. If we were at LCFF district, where that's how you get your money, we would be jumping for joy over it. We're property tax, so it doesn't necessarily always hurt us or always help us that way, but it's just so exciting to see that many students and parents making a commitment to come to school every day. And so we're super jazzed by it. And those that aren't are doing independent study contracts, and we're getting completion rates that are really great for those too. So super, super nice on that. And then at the end of the month, I will be going down to the AXA, the Association of California School Administrators Superintendent Symposium. It's the annual one. It's right here in Monterey, so I couldn't pass it up. I don't have to, fly or do any kind of long trip. So I'll be down there getting some information from everyone and kind of networking and stealing ideas from some really great across the state superintendents. And that's what I got. There's the over-under on the meeting.
I know, right? Yeah. And I told Martine, I'm like, just sleep here. It'll be easier. Okay, so for my update for Loma, so just like Denise mentioned, we did our K-5 sing-along assembly, which was so sweet. It's 8:30 in the morning, the Friday before break. It's a minimum day. Everybody's in PJs. It just has such a great vibe. I think we had more parents than I'd ever seen before. When we did it with COVID, like we said, no parents, and then we slowly allowed them in. This time, we just sort of left it, we're having a sing along, just kind of left it open. But yeah, I mean, there were people standing out like in the amphitheater doing it, it was wonderful to see. We also had a staff holiday party. We had to make some pivots, but luckily Dr. Greer solved for it. It ended up at my mother-in-law's house.
It only cost me a strudel.
I was like, there's no way this is going to happen. I was like, okay, I will show up. It was wonderful. It's great that, we're so close as a staff that, we enjoy hanging out together. And yeah, it was wonderful. Nice solve, by the way. At Loma, we finished DIBELS testing for our K-5 students. So this is the mid-year one. So I'll be bringing you in February to show you some of the DIBELS data from beginning of the year till middle of the year for K-5. And then iReady, we are doing our mid-year for iReady at both school sites. So I'll have that for you in February to kind of look and see where we are. We have a family event coming up February 28th. Our family leaders have been putting together what we'll do for our next one. I've heard some wonderful things about what's coming. So if you can, all right. I know, Denise, we're cool. So not tonight, but I will have you sing the song. So that will be February 28th at 10 o'clock. We would love to have any of you guys come. And then tomorrow night, like I think Shar mentioned, that we have our Screenagers viewing. We did this, gosh, how many years ago? Has it been 4? Yeah, it feels like it's been a long time.
COVID shut down the second.
Maybe that, okay, that's what I'm thinking. So we have a viewing tomorrow night. We're really excited to be bringing this back. School Site Council, and a huge shout out to Leela for spearheading this. So we'll be able to show that tomorrow night. It's about Under the Influence, and then we'll do another one in March around digital citizenship, right, and phones, which is just such a huge thing with our preteen and teenagers.
Of social media and substances.
Yeah.
And then the one March 26th is
Is
on elementary age.
digital, yeah.
And these lovely phones that bother them in class, and then screen time from phones.
Yeah, so we're excited we have that coming up. For CT, our hub is, a huge success. I kind of expected, when we opened it, there was, a lot of, excitement and all that. And I was like, this is gonna, it's kind of gonna go away and stuff. But it's packed in there. Shar can speak to that. There's groups of kids. It's busy. It is, yeah. I love going in and seeing, I haven't seen that group in here, or watching the kids and how they interact with Param, and when Shar's there, it just has a really good vibe. So I'm so grateful that they are reading. Theater in the Mountains is our middle schoolers are getting ready for the first week in February to have their show. So check out the Theater in the Mountains website for tickets. Season 3, like Dr. Greer talked about, flag football. I got to be out there at practice today with our JV coaches. 2 of our JV coaches are former students who are freshmen at the high school. And it's so great to see them out there. I was watching them. One of them is a staff member's son. And I was like, oh, he's his mother's son, because some of the things he came up, it was like, okay, boys, grab your stuff. This is what we're playing on. Pay attention. But it was really fun to see it. And I'm glad that, there's definitely been some bumps and some learning curves for rolling this out. But we have our next game tomorrow. It's a home game. So we're excited for that. CT is also ending quarter 2 Friday. We're going to start quarter 3 on Monday. It just feels like it's flying by. And then Arius and I are starting to have conversations for the 25-26 school year about the master schedule and kind of brainstorming, what can we do, as we look at, rolling our enrollment going forward in their different class sizes. So it's like planning and finishing this year, but also with that kind of lens of, what can we do for next year. So a lot going on, but it's good. Thanks.
Sandy? Oh, Paul.
We'll hear from
So
Sandy
shy.
during the auditor's report.
Good evening. We've been busy through the break, of course. Our community center project, we're still in the hands of the DSA, unfortunately. As kind of expected, there wasn't much movement during that time. But one of the things I did get is that the county is going to want to look at our septic system there. And so I'm having a contractor come out and we're going to do what's called a septic report. And then we're going to deliver that to the county. Hopefully we're going to find that since it served the greater school that sat there, that it will be sufficient for the community center. And there will be, hopefully no repairs or expansion needed on that system. At the same time, Studio Lynn, our architect, has had some conversations with the fire marshal, so they're slowly working on the fire plan. I don't think that it's anything bad. It's just he's just trying to get a jump on it and stay ahead of the curve. And then our North Campus parking lot, we're making some strides on. We're just working with the electrical engineers to understand the load in case we do, in fact, have to have the EV charging. And so we're just working through that. We had a great conversation with PG&E, and they're here to help. So that sounded great. I walked away from that meeting feeling like they actually want to help us and it not take years to get them to move. And then our Redwood Amphitheater, we have a list and we're developing purchasing the lumber for that, and then we're working with some community members to potentially install that at a volunteer service. And so that's very exciting, and hopefully we can pull that whole thing together by spring is the plan. And our playground soft surfacing, I've been contacting contractors, having them come out. We're inspecting the site, trying to understand what it will take to remove all the sand, and if we can achieve the fall zones after we remove the sand due to the angles of the ground and everything. So we're just kind of working through that process. It looks promising. We have noticed, though, that the 3rd grade playground is a bit degraded. It is the oldest playground since the kindergarten has been replaced, and we're finding some failing components to it. So we're looking at that, seeing what is the best course of action if we're going to do soft surfacing. Is it appropriate to put the soft surfacing down around the beginning to degrade the existing structure, or if a new structure should be done cost-wise, timing-wise? So we're just working that all through, and then of course I'll be reporting on that.
Paul, may I ask, how old is the playground, the 3rd grade playground?
That playground is, I believe when I saw it, it was 18 years old. So it was
Equipment and service?
the surface is just wood fiber.
Okay,
But the equipment is about 18 years old.
thank you.
And then next week I have a meeting with the flooring contractor to look at the gym floor, start discussing options, what's best for us, especially since we know that we have movement, potentially a little water intrusion. So we're just working through those processes, and hopefully I'll have some good news in the months coming.
Water intrusion, is that a leak in the ceiling, the roof, rather?
That would be actually coming up through the concrete.
Artesian well kind of things,
Yeah.
just
Is
groundwater.
water pressure enough to get it up?
Yeah, in fact, you can have up to 30,000 pounds per square inch coming up from underneath the concrete, is what I've been told. So we have the bubbling, and we feel, some of us feel that it could have been from the fire. The company feels it wasn't from the fire. They feel it was water intrusion coming up from the bottom. And so we're going to explore all that. And then the contractor has told me that there's numerous ways to mitigate that. There's a bead blast and then they lay like what's called a dry lock down, and that actually goes into the pores of the concrete. Similar actually to what we did in this building in these new wings, which with a how do you say it appropriately? It's an additive to the concrete, and it seals the pores. And so he was suggesting that, but that also all is a price per square foot. So we're just going to weigh it all out and try to do what's best for the district. And that's my report tonight.
I do want to say that Paul went above and beyond in the septic system, because I found out today that when he went to go check it on the North Campus, he actually opened up the cap and put his head inside to see how it was doing. I just want you to know what that might look like, sound like, or smell like. So this is Paul.
Not requirement.
Investigating the right way.
Just out of curiosity, Paul, how many people were on that North Campus when the thing was being used?
So I don't know exactly.
Just a ballpark?
Because the original school sat there, and then I believe that at one time when the IHS buildings were installed, that's when the septic was redone at that point. And unfortunately, I dug through our plans. We had boxes of plans in the bus barn. I dug through them all. I found one set of plans that was called the North Campus Field Improvements, and it shows the septic tank. It shows them connecting to the septic tank, but it doesn't give any specs on the tank or the leach field system. And so, unfortunately, in the county's eyes, that's not enough to make a decision on whether it is sufficient.
So what's the basic test they're going to do then? Are they going to check to see if it still percolates, or?
Exactly. So they'll suck it dry. They'll do a cubic yard test, which will allow for the amount of use per person, and then they'll fill it full of water and check the perk test.
Don't open your windows that day. I was telling her not to open her house windows that day.
Good plan.
I'll give you ample.
Just quick text. Quick text. Close it up now. All right, CTA of Loma Prieta.
I heard they did not have a report tonight.
Okay. And no one's here from CSEA. See. And LPF.
Fair.
I don't have much to report, but I haven't been in a while, so I wanted to show my face. One thing I want to do is thank publicly here, thank Scott Green for what he did. Not only is he an LPF sponsor, but above and beyond that, he was the driving force behind the tree, which was just an amazing community event, more than fundraising or anything like that. So I just wanted to thank him here. And then after a board meeting discussion on Monday night, we've decided that we're going to run the KEEP campaign mid-March to a TBD date in May. And so we'll finalize details of that and coordinate with Kevin and everyone. But that's our plan for KEEP this year. And we also have a couple new board members that have joined, or one new board member that's joined. So from first grade parents. So we're getting some younger involvement, which is nice. But that is all for me.
Thank you. And I know Nicola's not here, but I'm going to give her a happy birthday shout out for January 8th, baby. And that is why she is not here tonight. And I don't see anybody here from Loma Home and School Club or CT Home and School Club, so we will hear from them next time. All right, moving on. The audit report.
Yeah, so Sandy kind of helped to introduce this so she can get started, but we actually have our auditor from Christy White that'll be joining us on screen. It's that time of year when we perform the audit on 23-24. So it's not this year's budget, it's last year's. So, hello, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, let's see if we can hear you.
Perfect.
All right, so let me turn it over to Sandy. Anything you want to add first before we turn it over to?
No, we finished our audit in December, I believe, and this is the report, the final report for 23-24.
All right, go ahead.
Great. I will share my screen. All right, and I'll just jump in, but feel free to let me know if you can't see my screen or if you can't hear me for some reason. My name is Lily Navoa. I'm a CPA with Christy White Associates, and tonight I'll be presenting the audit report for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024. I expect my presentation to take about 5 to 10 minutes. I'll briefly walk through kind of our audit process, our timeline, what we look at. I'll go over the different roles and responsibilities that the district has and I as an auditor have. And we'll dive into the audit report package together. And after that, I'm happy to take any questions that you might have. So an audit is required by the state controller's office. And what you have in front of you, that audit package, is actually 3 different audit reports or 3 different opinion letters. So the first one is our independent audit report on financial statements. There also is a report on internal controls that's required for all governmental entities. And then the third is a report on state compliance and internal controls over state compliance. I'll be reviewing each of these 3 reports in more detail. We conduct our audit in 2 main phases. The first audit occurs in the springtime, and we often refer to this as the interim audit. During this time, we're really focused on internal control and state compliance testing. So when we look at internal controls, we are testing the design and effectiveness of controls that would prevent, detect, and correct misstatements, whether due to error or fraud. And we primarily look at receipts, disbursements, and payroll. We also spend a lot of time on state compliance during this phase of the audit. And all of our state compliance is predetermined and outlined in the state audit guide that's published every year. So a big thing that we look at is the attendance testing, both kind of at the school site level, taken by teachers, and we follow that through all the way to your P2 and annual attendance reports. We look at things like your SARC, your LCAPs, and just a whole host of different programs. At the end of the year, we conduct our second phase of the audit, and this typically occurs in the fall after the board has approved the unaudited actuals. And during this time, we're really focused on the account balances. So all of the numbers that you see in the financial report, this is what we're looking at during the year-end phase. We're confirming your cash balances, we're recalculating your revenue, recalculating long-term debt, just ticking through every number that you see. Throughout the audit, the district and the auditors have different responsibilities. So the district is responsible for designing and maintaining effective internal controls, those same internal controls that I talked about that we test during the interim audit. The district is also responsible for preparing the financial statements. So the financial statements that you see in front of you, all of the numbers and all of the kind of transactions and background information that pulls through to the financial statements were prepared by the district. And the district is also responsible for evaluating going concern. As an auditor, my responsibility is to provide an opinion. I'm looking to obtain reasonable assurance that the financial statements are materially correct. I also am responsible for conducting the audit in accordance with auditing standards generally accepted in the United States and standards that are applicable to governmental entities. So now if you have the report in front of you, I think page 63 does a really nice job of summarizing all of our audit results. It lists the different audit report opinions that we have. And so the first report is on financial statements. And if you wanted to look at this individual report in more detail, it can be found on page 1 of that audit report packet. But we issued an unmodified opinion. And although it sounds lackluster, that really is the best opinion that you can receive. 100 out of 100, A+. Our second report can be found on page 57, and this is a report on internal control over financial reporting. We did not identify any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies, and we did not know any non-compliance that would be material to the financial statements. This year, Loma Prieta was not subject to a federal compliance or single audit. That is based on kind of a threshold that you have to meet of federal dollars spent. So the third and final report is our report on state compliance. This can be found on page 59. But as you can see in the summary page, again, we issued an unmodified opinion, the best you can receive. No material weaknesses and no significant deficiencies were identified. And furthermore, there were no audit findings. So kind of some key takeaways. Once again, unmodified opinions, kind of the best possible opinion that you can receive. No audit findings and no audit adjustments were needed to be posted. I don't want to spend a lot of time going over the numbers in the audit report for 2 reasons. One, there aren't any changes from the numbers that you approved in your unaudited actuals because we didn't have any audit adjustments. You've already approved all of these numbers. And then second is this data is a little old at this point. This relates to the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024. We're now in January 2025. You're busy working on the 24-25 school year. But I did just want to quickly highlight your capital assets. You had almost $15.9 million invested in capital assets, and then also your long-term liabilities, just because you don't always see these schedules of capital assets and long-term liabilities in your fund financial statements as easily. I wanted to highlight them here. There was about $17.4 million in long-term liabilities on the books. And before I open it up for any questions, I would like to pause and say thank you to the members of the district, specifically Sandy. I know the audit it takes a lot of work. We have a ton of requests, and I'm really happy to say that it was a really smooth process. Sandy is always prompt, and I know there's so many other team members that work on the audit, so I just want to give them a shout out, say thank you, and let everyone know how well the audit went. And at this time, I'm happy to take any questions.
Will we be able to have a camera so she can see who might be having a question or no?
So,
I can see you.
Okay.
oh, we can't.
Oh, you can? Yay.
Yes.
Okay.
I can see like maybe the first 4 of you. So not all of you,
okay.
but many of you.
All right. That way you could see if they had a question when they spoke sometimes.
Perfect.
All right. Any questions?
Any questions from our board? Any questions from our board members?
You asked them all.
First, Lily, thank you for your answering the questions that I did send to you. The ones that you sent late today, I'd made copies of and gave them just now. They may not have had time to have read the responses, but I did provide what you gave to Sandy, so thank you.
That's great. And yeah, sorry they came kind of late today. I'm happy to kind of reiterate them or talk about them again now if that's helpful.
I do have
Talk
a
very
question.
loud.
I didn't write this one out and send it to you, but one of the questions I have often is, why does it take so long? I mean, here we are in January, the school year ended in June. Why can't we do it in, say, 90 days?
Well, we do finish the audit report. I mean, we didn't just finish it. I'd have to check what date your audit report was finalized. Most of it is driven by the date that you guys close your unaudited actuals. And so that usually is the driving factor. Our firm also specializes in auditing school districts. So you can imagine kind of trying to calendar in this many school districts, county office of educations, and charter schools that all kind of are closing their books at the same time. And since there is a deadline of December 15th, that's really what we work towards. If it's a priority to get on the calendar sooner, we're always looking for clients that can go sooner. So if you guys are ready in kind of early September, that would be great. We would love to
no. Sandy had a panic look on her face.
That's something we can definitely discuss in the schedule for next year.
So most of the time when I've asked that question, the answer has been, well, everybody does it this way. But I mean, still, we're a small school district. I know that Sandy does a great job with the books. We've had clean audits now for as far back as I can recall with no adjustments. So it feels to me as if it ought to go quite quickly. It's a fairly simple process that you have. Most of it, the revenue comes from tax records, so there's not a whole lot to check there. You don't have an issue with respect to revenue recognition. It's there or it's not. So the liabilities ought to be pretty straightforward, and I know she does a good job with it. So why can't we do it sooner and really get this burden off of her desk 3 months earlier? So
I prepare an audited actual for September,
Huh?
and then they can start the audit after that. So they need a good 30 to 60 days to get their stuff done. But I have to provide more information to them during that time.
I've been going through audits for most of my career, and school districts are the longest audit I have ever seen, bar none. And it just amazes me that companies much larger than this and with much more complex accounting requirements get through them so much faster. I know there are different requirements, and I know you're a staff of one almost, so, but still, it feels like we ought to be able to do it faster. It doesn't seem like a priority. It's just, why does it take so long? Because whenever you drag it on, there's the issue with potential subsequent events that you have to suddenly report on. There's all kinds of things that could happen that add to your burden. And all through the time where you haven't finalized it, you have questions that will come up to revalidate some of the statements that the auditors will make. So to me, it's 3 months of extra time to ask questions where you could do it a lot sooner than that. Just a question. I have a few other questions, but I think I'm going to read your answers and then get back to the staff here if I have some follow-up.
Okay.
Any other questions? Comments? Okay.
So I do want to offer a comment, or stress rather. The audit results are very good. They're great. So we shouldn't be too concerned. The community should not be concerned that we're doing something kind of flaky over here and that, we're trying to hide things that we shouldn't be doing. So I just think the school district is pretty well run financially. We don't always like the results in terms of where the reserves are, but we can't complain about how responsible the management is with the money. And that comes through in the audit.
We have a motion to accept the audit report.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Aye.
And
Aye.
And I'm aye as well. Thank you very much, Lily.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lily.
All right.
Hats off, by the way, to Ramel, Lindsay, for figuring out how to make this work again. So that was very seamless. So
Wow, that was like.
when we tried to do it 2 years ago on video, it was awful.
Audio was horrible. Then more questions too.
There you go.
All right. And next up would be the SART report for Loma.
Yeah, so this will be Amy to come up and talk if she wants to. But basically, this is to discuss and adopt the Loma Prieta SARC, which is the School Accountability Report Card. It's a requirement. It's a compliance issue that we have to. You heard her say that the auditors look at our SARCs, our LCAPs, things like that. So all of this is in there. A lot of the information now in the SARC, I know when I started doing SARCs back in 1995, yeah, it's old. We had to do a lot of these calculations in the charts that are there, but now over the time, because the state is solely trying to move to an integration with the school management systems that are in play in California districts and with the California Department of Education, the charts and graphs and stuff like that get populated by the data that we put into the school management system and the learning management systems and things like that. So our end is that we have to make sure that goes in cleanly, because we can't fix it once it's in. If we've let an error go through, it goes to the state level, and that's what they use on and on and on. So Amy's done great with this. She takes it on and reviews each year. You got to remember, this is last year. So we're always talking in comparative to the 23-24 on this particular one. So Amy, this is just Loma, and then we'll do CT.
Yeah, so hopefully you have it, Ron. There's page numbers on them. On the SARC report, there's page numbers.
Oh.
Yes.
You
I know.
down here?
Yeah, I couldn't make them any bigger, but yeah, there's page numbers on there.
I think I have the SARC.
She sent the.
I
Well, no, that's-
knew I was missing something.
That's the
Dashboard.
dashboard you don't have yet, but SARC report, you should have a Loma one and a CT.
It's right behind.
41 pages long.
I mean, you
Yeah.
have
Okay, I
that
think
one. I
so.
think you just.
Is this like 7 of,
Yeah,
It
so
would be in your journal as page 83 of 221, which is the full packet for the board.
yeah, I got it.
And so that's the start of the,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, I got them. Thank you.
yeah, so Loma, this is 23-24.
and if you look really smallly at the bottom, it says
There
1
are
of
pages.
41.
I got it.
Super, she can't change the font, but we got the page
Got a page
numbers.
number.
I'm never gonna live this down.
Right?
Thank you, though. I do appreciate it.
But they help me too. So for Loma, like Dr. Greer said, some of this, we're able to go in, like I can put in the narrative, I can change, I can put in some of the things, but other stuff, is populated by the state. All the CAST data comes from that. And, chronic absenteeism, suspension, we can't change those numbers. So for Loma, I know one question we had was about, so for our 23-24, our CAST results for ELA, one of our subgroups for socioeconomic disadvantaged students.
Page 17 of 41.
So when you look at that, on that page, so all of our students, we had 137 students, because this is grades 3rd through 5th for Loma, who take ELA CAST. Out of those 137, 68.9% met or exceeded standard. That means they got a 3 or a 4 on their CAST results. It's a 1 through 4. And then when you kind of, scan through there and you look down, you can see that our socioeconomic disadvantaged students, we have 13 of them, 3rd through 5th, and the 46% of them met or exceeded standard. And so as we kind of look through, the plus side for us is we're so small that I can sit with, Zoila and Lisa, and we can go through and we know who those kids are, what we're doing to support them. They're in either intervention, they have supports through other means, but we're closely monitoring those. So that's one area that we're looking at. Questions on the Loma SARC?
Actually, I focus on the percentage of met or exceeded.
Right.
And it's going to be a lift, isn't it, to get up to 85% or more?
It is.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about it. It's just a mystery to me that we don't get there, or rather, how to get there.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
And yeah, I think we're working on that. I think some of it, I think if you ask any teacher, they'll, I still think we're climbing our way out of some of our COVID. When we look at some of our kids, that we're still working towards that. I think the interventions in place, are great. We need those, reading and math interventions. I think there's things that we can adjust to make them more effective. I think curriculum has always been one thing for the district. I mean, I know it's been a selling point when teachers come here, they're kind of like, oh, it's a little loose. Like, I want to use this curriculum. And that's one thing we've really dialed down is that, we have a K-8 ELA curriculum. 6th grade through 8th grade has a fabulous math curriculum. Loma has been looking at what they want to do over there. We're piloting one, it's got pluses and minuses when you look at it. So I think we're working on all of those different avenues. And I do think it's going to come together, and we'll look at the data and the trends as we go, but it's a big lift.
I noticed on page 28 of 41, you have absenteeism.
Correct.
How does this compare to last year? Do you know?
So when I do the dashboard, I'm going to tell you, but I will tell you right now, it is fabulous. We went from red to green. So we skipped orange and yellow and went straight to green, which when I was down with some of the other schools at the county office, a gal who I know very well from a big district is like, you can't do that. You can't go all the way. And I was like, apparently you can. And then I was so afraid. I was like, oh, what if they made a mistake? So I wouldn't like ask like the presenter, the lady in charge. I'm like, you can do this, right? It's not like I have to. She's like, no. She's like, look at your percentage. Look at your numbers. Those are you can claim green. I was like, okay, I'm going to own it. So we've done an amazing job, and I'll show you when I put up a dashboard.
Okay.
But yeah, we've come a long ways because that was a lot. I mean, 19.2%.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Other questions on the SARC report?
For Loma?
For Loma.
Any questions?
I mean, most of the ones that I had got answered. I
Greatly appreciate your questions ahead of time.
And a lot of it is just sort of my own confusion from vague terms like incomplete teachers or unknown things. Like, just what does that mean? So I appreciate all of that.
Yeah, what was that? What is that comprised of?
So in the answer I gave, it's really those that in 23, 24 would have been those either working on a CLAD that hadn't completed it, or those that we had an intern credential, which was in 23, 24, we had a special ed teacher that didn't have a credential for special ed, so we had to do an intern credential for that one. It's the state had created these two new categories, unknown and incomplete, and they just are ways that if they don't meet the top three categories, which most people usually fall into, then it goes into these other categories. It doesn't mean they're ineffective, it just means they don't have the credential that is what's required to be for the job.
And a lot of, so now when people
But
come
their
out of.
status is not unknown.
No, it's just that where they are is in limbo between getting the right credential. Like when I started here, we had several people without the CLAD, and very fortunately, we're down to one last person to do the CLAD, which is exciting. And that person's already into like year 2 of the course things and stuff, so we're excited. And so eventually that'll be, for 24, 25 should look everybody known, right? So, but yeah, it's not that they're unknown.
They're incomplete.
It just means it's not,
Right.
yeah.
And,
It's not fitting one of those 3 categories, which they would prefer everyone fall into.
and we know who they are. Like, so, now when kids come out of their credentialing program, that CLAD is now embedded in that. Like, there's nobody that doesn't come out with it. Those of us that, got our credential, that, some of us were a little bit older, that some of us had to go and get that added on.
Or we came from out of state.
And then some of our out-of-state teachers, it's something that they had to do. So we've almost gotten, I believe, everybody.
I think the only other question I had that was relevant to the Loma one was on the chronic absenteeism rate. We had an overall rate of less than 7%, which was amazing, but it really jumped with the English language learners.
Right. So if you look at, for chronic absenteeism, we have overall for Loma, we had 268 students because chronic absenteeism is K5 for Loma. Our rate was 6.8, which was wonderful. It's what helped us move. And then our English language learners, we had 13 of them. 3 of those were chronically absent, which put our percentage at 23.1.
It does only represent 3 students.
I know, I use percentages, and Arius always tells me, like, number of students. Are we talking 1? Are we talking 3?
Yeah.
Out of those 3 students, again, I can tell you, who they are, what they done. 2 of the 3, it's traveling over like the winter break, so taking some extra time. We try to support with independent study packets, but sometimes, it's not, it's not enough long enough runway for our teachers to get it together, or they don't have internet availability. So that really hinders what they can do, especially for our older kids.
And I would say we checked 22, 23. Remember we said it was 2 of 14 at that time, and it was 3 of 13 this time.
Yeah, it's amazing how going from 2 to 3, that percentage, like.
Yeah.
Can we get them a hotspot in that situation?
We have offered that. they haven't taken us up on it, but I would love, I mean, kind of now that we know, right, we kind of know who they are, we know this is going to happen, I can, kind of set my watch by next year. I would love to see it's like Luke and Ramel, like how can we have it ready to go, paper and pencil with our teachers before that, we get the official paper and the 2-week window and that kind of stuff. Could we tee this up ahead of time?
So the school district is doing a whole bunch of things to try to reduce that. How's the parent, not to specify or pick on anybody in particular, but is the parent compliance where we want it to be?
It's challenging. I think, it's really a mixed bag. I think you have parents that, are gung-ho and they want the independent study, they're going to sit on that airplane or wherever they are in the car and they're going to work through whatever work has been provided. They're going to make sure their kid gets on the computer. I think you have others that, will take it, but my kid will kind of do it if they can at their own pace and kind of hands off. And others that it's like, I don't want it. Like, I don't want to fight with my kid about making them do it. That's for these guys to handle. So it's really all over the map. And we do the best we can with encouraging and saying, the work that we're providing is work your child can do independently. It's, not new things that, it's not brand new multiplication that your third grader has never seen before. So we try to make it where the kid can do it on their own. But yeah, it's really all over the map.
Well, I really appreciate the efforts. The numbers have improved dramatically, and that's wonderful.
It's been a huge team effort.
And just so you know that I did put it in the response, but the table on page, old man glasses, 39 of 41, the bottom two where it says percent of budget for teacher salaries and percent of budget for administrative. Aaron's detective work actually called out an error where the state has put in the sheer percent value and not it as a percent.
Yeah.
So that should read 28.77 as compared to 26.17 for teacher salaries and 8.55 as opposed to 6.29. So yeah. And now we got to figure out who at the state, again, this isn't us, this is them who entered it. So now we got to find a person at the state that can change that value. So, but
And we're working on it. We got emails going back and forth.
in case you were like Aaron caught that very,
No,
like,
actually,
how is that possible? Like, that can't be possible. Like,
I actually wanted to.
July. Okay.
What do you mean?
Anything else? We have a motion to adopt the SARC report for Loma.
I move that we adopt the SARC report.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Denise?
Aye.
Ron?
Aye.
And I'm aye as well. All right. The
Same thing that
All right, so so now we'll look at CT English. Again, a lot of the narrative is very similar, between our school sites. The same thing on, if you look at page 18, it's the CAS for ELA for our 6th through 8th grade students from last year. We had 162 students at CT English. 71% of them met an exceeded standard for ELA. So we were, looking at that number, and then kind of as you scan down and you look at our socioeconomic disadvantage, we had 18 students in our middle school. 61% of those met an exceeded standard. And we had 11 of those 18 were at or above, and then 7 of those were below. Out of those 7, I thought what was really interesting as I was digging into this, 3 of those 7 were brand new to our middle school, meaning we didn't see them at Loma. Some of them came to us like as a 8th grader that we'd never seen before. And I believe a couple, they had not been to a school in our state. So, it's interesting. The nice thing about, when our kids move from our elementary school to our middle school, we know strengths, we know weaknesses, we can just jump right on it about what they need. And when they come to us, it takes, some time to figure out, what are the holes, what's causing them, how do we support. But out of those 7, they are, we have interventions in place. Again, we know who they are.
I was very surprised and pleased at your percentage of students taking the test. you're looking at 2 people really that didn't take the test. That's pretty good.
Mhm.
And I don't recall seeing something that high in the past.
We had more opt-outs historically,
Yes.
and than we did this last year, which was, I think, really great. And I know that other neighboring schools did not have it. They had really high opt-out rates. And I can't remember there's a threshold. I can't remember.
5%.
Is it 5%?
Yeah.
That I know some of those principals were like, gosh, I'm getting, it's creeping up. And that just wasn't something that we had to deal with.
So to what do you attribute the success, if you will?
I think, I think it's the partnership, the home to school partnership. We communicate with the parents. Parents want them here. I think a lot of the messaging from the teachers too is that, this is just, another assessment. This is, not, the sky is not going to fall if you feel like you're not doing well on this. Do the best you can. We support you. Practicing with the tests, but also knowing that just not putting a whole lot of pressure on the kids. Like, this is not tied, especially our middle school kids, right? This is not tied to your grade, that kind of thing. But I think a lot of it is the parent, the home to school partnership.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on page 18 or 19, then there's the one bar for students with disabilities.
Mhm.
So 28, it's like 1/6 of our student population. And the percent better exceeded is like 37%. So does that get rolled up in the top number?
Yeah.
Yes, for all students, yes.
Yeah, okay, all right.
The challenge has been too that last year and even last year's testing, to qualify for the alternative assessment for either language arts or math or science is much, much more difficult than it has been in the past. It used to be that if you felt the person would really stumble on this, give them the alternative assessment. But now, through the way they want to know how they're doing on grade level standards for everybody, the alternative assessment is very, very hard. You have to answer a series of questions in like the affirmative on your disability thing in order to say that that's where you need to be is on the alternative. So, usually we would have either people would take the alternative and that doesn't get summed into here.
Yeah, that would definitely change.
Now it's all in.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I just wanted
Yeah.
to make sure I understood.
And that was a change. I mean, that's been a change over time. So.
Yeah. And that's definitely going to change your weighted average.
Yeah, because there's some kids that we know very well I always feel bad because it's like, why would I push this kid onto a test that I know is just not gonna be a success? There's not anything positive coming out of that from a self-esteem lens, let alone a how are they doing academically lens.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Comments? All right. We have a motion to approve and adopt the SARC report for CT English.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and Nora?
Aye.
Karen?
And I as well.
And I'm. Okay. Dashboard.
All right. I never thought I'd get so excited about dashboard coming out. It was like, thanks, you get it in little chunks. You get like a preview in October and a little bit more in November, and then December is like the big reveal of it. So I'll have Diane, I know she'll go ahead and put it up here. So yeah, so this is our dashboard for 23-24. And, this is really, that public facing, basically, our accountability piece. You can go into dashboard, you can look up, other people's. When this comes out and everybody's at the county, it's like you look up your own information, but then the next thing you're going to do is I'm like, okay, Fisher, Mary, how'd you do? And so there's a little bit of that. But again, this is, it's just this quick overview of like the overall performance, and then you can drill down into the different student groups. I'll have you go to the next slide. Yeah. And
There's
then,
page numbers at the bottom of the PowerPoint?
I think so.
there are.
They are.
Amazing. Okay,
And
sorry, go
again, I
ahead.
couldn't make them bigger. So basically, and the other thing about the dashboard that's really important to us as well is that the dashboard is what identifies you as needing technical assistance, which puts you into that differentiated assistance. And as like Dr. Greer said, we were in that. We completed our year 1. We've done great. We're in year 2. We want to keep that momentum. Next slide, please. Okay. So on the dashboard, when we go ahead and look at it, they use this 5x5 grid, and you're looking at, status and change. The status is, what you did for the current year, and then the change is the difference between last year and this year. So we're going to look at a 5x5 grid here in a minute, and I'm going to actually challenge you guys to practice here. So next slide, please. Okay, so here is your turn to do it. So when you look at the grid, right, there's your performance level here, and then what has changed over the year. So let's see, what was my example for you guys? Okay, so if you look at that first column, the performance level. So let's say it's 22-23. Your chronic S&T rate is 6.5%, right? So you're 6.5.
22, 23?
Yeah. 23, you're here. 23, 24, your chronic S&T rate goes to 2.5. So you decrease by 4%. What color are you now?
So you should be in the blue.
Blue, green.
No, it would still have to
So
be
you-
green. Because you have to.
Aaron, why do you still have to be green?
Because you have to stay in that row.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, you can.
So where did you start, Amy? Where did we?
Yeah, so you're right here, right? Because you're at, what did I say, 6.5%.
So you're right there in the
You
medium.
decreased 4%,
So
right?
it puts
So
you
you're
in that column. Yeah.
You're gonna be the last column, but.
The last column, but in the same.
All the way to decline significantly.
Okay.
Prior year.
Okay, let's try another one. 22, 23, you're at 3% chronic absenteeism.
We're not going to tell you where you start. You got to figure that out.
3%. Just have to look it up here. Okay. All right. 20, the next year, 23, 24, you're at 5%. So you increased 2%. Where are you? Yellow.
Yeah.
Why yellow?
Increase 5%.
You've increased 2%. You were 3, you went to 5, so yeah, I know that's where it gets. Yeah. Okay, all right, so I'll show you our stuff. All right.
And by the way, some of these 5x5s are backwards thinking. So chronic absenteeism, if you decline, it's better than if you increase.
Yeah,
Suspension, same thing. Academically, opposite. If you increase, good thing. Decline, bad thing. So you really have to kind of, there's a lot of fun analysis.
First year I looked at it, it was like, ELA and math, you want to increase. And I was like, oh, good. And then I was like, suspension, oh, yay, we increased. And I was like, nope, we wanted to go the other way. Okay, so we're going to talk about chronic absenteeism, just kind of to review a little bit. You guys know that chronic absenteeism, it's 10% of the school year. So 180 days total school year, it's 18 days. Right now we just passed the 80-day mark. So I'm looking at students that have 8 or more absences, kind of sticking with that 10% is how we do this. And something that's eye-opening to people is that chronic absenteeism is excused and unexcused. So the unexcused makes sense, but I think it's been a little bit eye-opening for our parent community that, well, it's like I excused my kid. You did. We know where they were. They were on vacation. They were sick. It's great that we know. However, it's still absent. It's still not in front of our experts. It's still going to count against us. Okay, next slide. Okay, so here's us. So in 22, 23, we were red, right? This is where we hit. And then 23, 24, we moved here. And my comment at the district, or at the county office, really quietly was like, don't you have to stay in this row? And I was told, you don't. If you make enough gains, which we did, you can move this way.
So this is just nonsense.
But we are rare.
So they make this presentation more complex than it needs to be.
And especially
100% agree. But I'm going to take our win.
Take the win, but I mean.
It is.
Yeah, but that's like.
But yeah.
Well, and one of the things we wanted to take the win, because no offense, we went down significantly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You guys
Like
have done
these
an
efforts
amazing
that
job.
we poured in with you guys commenting on it at most board meetings, us reiterating in newsletters, and every time I was in front of any group about attendance. I wanted that win because I was really depressed that when we started this process of differentiated systems, the best we were going to get was yellow, right? Because if you had to stay in the same row, I'm like, well, that's kind of boo-hoo. Like, we're like award winners, like we wanted green or blue. And so it was nice that there is an exception for people that go so far because they don't expect that. They don't expect that you can turn on a dime like that. And so it's nice. Take the win.
We're gonna take it and we want to keep, and the last thing we want to do is move the other way. And so we're working on efforts to keep us there. So our differentiated assistance, the reason we were in red for chronic absenteeism is we had 4 subgroups that were there. And then we also had a suspension, one of our subgroups. So we had 2 subgroups that got us there, just to recap that. But I'll show you some more data here. Okay. So this is what it looks like. This is our front-facing page with the colors. Chronic absenteeism, we're now in green. When I showed you guys last year, we were in red. Suspension rate for 23-24, we're in green, which is great. And then skipping over to language arts, we're in green, and math, we're in blue. And I'll show you more about that. English language learners progress, there's no color there because if you have under 30, they don't report it. But I'm going to show you something. We do have data on that to show how many are making progress and where they are. This doesn't show up here.
And this is a summary of 3rd through 8th grade.
So the academics are 3rd through 8th grade. Chronic absenteeism suspension is K-8. Okay. What else did I have? Okay. So next slide. Okay. So this is our language arts, 3rd through 8th grade. We ended in green for all students. And we're 44.2 points above standard. And just to explain a little bit about that distance from standard, they're measuring how far students are from the lowest possible score for standard met. And the standard met is defined as what knowledge and skills they have for students to be on track for college, career readiness at their grade level is where those come from, just to give you a little. So we were above for that, and then we can look down at our different subgroups of what colors they were. So our students with disabilities were in orange, our Hispanic in green, and white in blue. And when we look at our students with disabilities, we definitely have some things in place 24-25 that we did not have previously. We have a new SAI team this year. We have a curriculum unique and Linda Moonbell. Anybody that's part of the SPED world and you say Linda Moonbell, they get really excited, I learned, because it's this fabulous program. So I'm interested to look at our data and be able to see next year compared to last year and some of those trends. Comments, questions?
It is nice to see 2 of the subgroups increasing, or I guess we call them student groups. In my old language, I use subgroups, which was making it sound demenial. So it's student groups. So I'm trying to change my vernacular, but I'm still old. But students with disabilities, we do have some work because we did decrease from 22-23 to 23-24. It's a different group of kids, obviously, because kids move in and move out. But it still would like to see that trend going differently.
I know, and I tend to focus in on the declines and not, there were definitely increases there.
Yeah. The Hispanic population go up 11 points in the year between 22-23. That's really good.
Yep.
So in your disabilities, we have a small group of disabled students.
So this is 55 students, 3rd through 8th grade.
3rd through 8th grade, okay.
Last year.
Half of them in the Loma, then about that many. I think you had 28 or 29 in the lower classes. I would imagine there are some real learning disability challenges depending on the individuals, and they could swing it a lot. If you looked at the factors, could you differentiate what disability drove that?
You could, I mean, you could look through yeah, you could pull out that. I don't know.
The reason I ask is not to highlight necessarily that disability, but get a little insight into what we might focus on.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to have a conversation with Randy about that. I mean, I know looking at those, 55 students, Dr. Greer mentioned, before they would have qualified for taking the alternate test, which looks very differently. And I think we had one student last year that qualified for the alternate. And it shouldn't be that hard. It should not be like that to qualify. It felt cruel to put some of these kids through it. I know what parents can do is if the kid, comes and does it the first day, parent can opt out later on. And I know we've had some parents say, this is just really upsetting to my kid, when they're 2-3 grade levels behind to sit in front of a test. And I totally understand that.
I do want to clarify, Ron, this isn't all students with disabilities for learning disabilities. This is students with an IEP. So this could be students who are speech only. So that's why the number is 55. We don't have 55 students with academic learning disabilities.
Oh, okay.
We had 30-something kids that were in SAI rooms for academic, which is where this would coming up in English. But many of the other ones are speech only, speech only. That may not then, it's not an academic issue, so they could process, beyond. So obviously we were looking at those with academic learning disabilities around reading comprehension and reading attack and trying to work on those in the language arts category. Yes.
Right. Well, I would imagine, I'm just being a little, I want to clarify. So for example, if you had a person who was blind, for example, they would not be able to read necessarily what anybody else is reading unless they can read Braille maybe.
Right, and they do have the Braille testing.
They do have Braille.
Oh, yeah.
And audio.
Students that have, so students with an IEP, there's accommodations for statewide testing. It could be anything from, like the color overlay if they need, having it, text to speech, speech to text, having it be a read aloud, access to a multiplication table. There's different accommodations that are put in that the IE team does at their meetings prior to state testing.
To try to level the playing field.
And this is only for IEP or is it also 504?
It can be for 504s are mostly like they can test in a separate setting. But some of them, depending on the 504 team, have put into place different things. Yeah. Okay. All right, next slide. Okay, so this is our English language learners. Again, there was no color, the end size is too small for us for that, but I did want to show you some data that we have made progress. 22.7% of our English language learners are progressing, which is wonderful. We have Eleni is our reading intervention teacher, and she is absolutely amazing at supporting our students. It's one thing, when we get our, English language learners in kindergarten, first grade, and it's like, everybody's learning how to read. It's another thing when we get them in 6th grade or in 8th grade, and they're brand new, some of them brand new to the country. And it's like, oh my gosh, like the 8th grade curriculum is rigorous for even, a native speaker. So it's really, Eleni and Michelle Bowen this year has been helping with reading intervention as well. So I'm grateful to have both of them. So for last year, we had, let me see this. We had 12 students that were ELs, and they grew at least one level. So when you do the LPAC testing, if they're a level 1, then they at least went to a 2 or 3, that sort. And then we had 39% reclassified, meaning that they were identified as an English language learner and they have tested basically out of it, that they are now considered English proficient. And we continue to monitor them, right? Because we don't want that slide back. So yeah, I thought this was a really powerful chart to show that.
I love that 80% went one level. That's amazing.
At least.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and when you look at other places, that's not the norm. So yeah, we have a fabulous team in place, and the Sunday program that they use, I can't say enough about. Okay, looking at math in grades 3rd through 5th. So we were in blue, which is wonderful. Again, we were 41.1 points above standard. So we had an increase of 7.3. You know, when we drill down and we look at our different subgroups, we had our students with disabilities. They increased a little bit. We're in yellow there, so we'll definitely monitor that. And then our Hispanic and white populations.
And again, Hispanic population went up almost 30 points as a group. That's amazing in the math. So just like we said, a lot of times I go find the cloud and not the sun. So that's a sunshine, and I want to point out a little sunshine moment.
Yeah, I do want to be, I'm always, what can we do better is always, but we have some big wins there. But we're continuing, so our middle school is using Big Ideas curriculum, which we love. Loma, we're looking for, you know, a curriculum to adopt. The one that we are doing this year, you know, it's got, you know, we have mixed feelings about it. It's weird. It's like like one unit will be great and it's like, oh yeah, let's go with this. And then the next unit's not so great. And it's like, there's gotta be something better out there. So it's really kind of this mixed bag that the team's gonna have to talk about. But we do have math intervention 4 days a week, and we're continuing to look. I know there's a lot of interest in doing, how do we provide like after school interventions to support our students, you know, given, you know, busing and sports and our location and those kind of things. But it is something that we want to look at. Questions on our math?
The tough thing too, Ron, I know you'll bring it up, and you brought it up once already. Not that you will, but well, I know you're thinking it. But is we look at wanting to get to that target of 85% for meeting or exceeding, and yet you look at these things and we're in green in the one and blue in the other, but we're not near that target of 85%. So it's a little confusing. How can you do that and be there here too, right? So our ultimate goal is going to be there. It won't change the colors as much because we're there now. It's just we want to make sure that everyone is as successful getting out of their grade level with their standards intact, right? So just so you can kind of see like where we're at math at 70 or 68% overall. It's still blue on this indicator, which kind of conflicts. Like, why isn't that higher? Why wouldn't the level of at or above need to be higher to be at the blue, right?
Actually, I'm not confused by that. I think the state's approach is weak, to be kind, I guess, because they have it sort of divided up into maybe 20% groups or 30% here and there. And I think blue is too broad. But our goal isn't blue. Our goal is 85% or better. And so I'm not confused about that. This is what the state gives us.
Yep.
And it is good to see that we're in that range. I think we should be very pleased and proud of the success that we're having. But our goal still is to get the majority of our students at or above grade level.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Big time.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, I think, like you said, the green and blue is great, but we definitely have work to do in getting our kids. You know, we've done a lot of work in identifying them, getting the interventions in place, and now we need to build on that.
Okay.
No, I mean, but we clearly increased in every group, and that's good to see. I mean, it's moving in the right direction.
And the other win, by the way, predicting going forward, if we could fall into DA because you can fall into differentiated assistance for academic groups that fall below. If you looked on this one on the chart there's none in red. And in language arts, there were none in language arts in the red category. Orange is acceptable. Yellow, same thing, right? But that means that for purposes of thinking about differentiated assistance,
actually,
in 25, 26, we can't because right now for academics, no one's in red.
Right.
Yeah.
That's helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so just kind of looking at that, Greer was mentioning out here. So the reasons for DA, so we're going to go back and talk about product absenteeism and suspension. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of, if you're wondering, like that's how we got here, right? For differentiated assistance, we had product absenteeism and suspension. You know, a lot of other people, you know, had hit these areas, and that's not where we were.
Did the assistance that we were getting prove to be differential in terms of adding real value to our program?
So I call it detention and not differentiated assistance.
Okay. So that answers my.
There has been some value. Like I think that our team is tight. We all kind of know what we're looking for. I mean, Zoila and Lisa and I mean, on any given day, we know, who's out, who's been out for 2 days. We're really looking at the data. So I think that's been the positive piece of it, that we know, and we're digging into it. I think what they're providing, I mean, I think a lot of it we're just doing naturally. So, when they meet with us, it's like, well, what about if you did, A, B, and C? And it's like, here you go. Like, we did it. Like, can we go now? So there is value, but a lot of it's internally.
I mean, it's forcing us to spend time continuing to steal ideas and to focus from other people. Like now we're going and having conversations with people that are at, 8 absences before they get to 10, because we know that if we catch them at 8 and stop them, they don't become chronic when they get to, 10 where we are now, and when they get, so we're actually having those preemptive meetings, which we hadn't done before, but it's because we've got the other part under control, so now we're kind of sliding back. She's even been doing some kind of interviews with people that are chronic absent, like what could we have done as a district to have helped your family or your child to have come more, like just so we could learn. Like what happened? Was it us? Was it you? Was it both of us? Like, they glean some information. We wouldn't have done that, but that's part of a plan, act, do, study thing we're doing now.
Yeah. So I feel like it's made us maybe reach out more to our parents, to our kids that have been absent, and really finding out why. Is it school avoidance? Can we help with that with our school counselor, our teachers? Is it illness? And for some of that, we can't solve for, but we are having those conversations. So I think there's been some positives. Okay. But yeah, if you're looking for me on a Monday morning, I'm in detention. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so chronic absenteeism. So for 23-24, we were at 8.6% of our students in K-8. So they were out 18 or more days. Just to give you numbers, so that's 35 students. K-8. For 22-23, we were at 19.2%, which was 84 students. Last year it was a mix, so it's 35. It's really split between Loma and CT. What I know now, I'd say CT was more illnesses, and Loma was more, there was illness mixed in there with vacation and just not, just other things. So for this year, 24-25, we have one student that has met the threshold for being chronically absent, and we're aware of the reasons and all of that. And then we have 14 kids that we're just sort of like keeping an eye on, and those are the ones that I've had, we call them like empathy interviews, like what can I do, Ron, to get, Stephen to come to school. And so that's what we're using. Yeah. Questions on?
Not this slide, but this slide too. You have a block that says state, and then you have a purple block that says what? All students. So what does the state refer to on that?
Yeah, so I can't do it from here, but I can send you the link to the navigate. So if you click on state, it'll show you this, and it will go this state average.
Yep.
And show you what the state is, and you can pull it side by side. You can show our district, you could show a neighboring districts, and you could show the state and see the different colors of where they were.
Okay, thank you.
We're definitely well
I
above or below, depending on the measure we're doing.
Yeah.
So no, we haven't gotten yet booed at differentiated assistance meetings yet, because they look at us like, how is it possible? Because some of these other districts are going to be this in for life. And they just go, how? And so we kind of walk in like conquering heroes. Yeah, that's how good we are.
Yeah, let's be humble.
Yeah, no, we are. Yeah, but it's when you hear, some people are doing year one again. I was like, oh my gosh, it's like Groundhog Day for you. Like, and so with our chronic absenteeism for 24-25, like I said, we know who they are. I've sent letters. Zoila, Lisa, and I with tracking it. We sent a letter at like the 40-day mark. If you've missed 4 days of school, I just sent letters again for the 80-day mark. And I handwrite on them. Like if your kid has been sick for 10 days out of the school year. I just there's extenuating circumstances. we're here if you need us. The ones that are vacation, it's like, please reach out. We would love to get you independent study. So kind of just trying to create that partnership. All right, next slide, Diane. Okay, so here's our kind of action plan, which we've kind of already talked about, but we're diligently tracking absences, encouraging independent study. One of the nice things about independent study, it used to be for 5 days, and now you can request it for 3 days. So that's been helpful. And we've gotten more buy-in with that. The tricky piece is, I think for some, when it's not a planned vacation or it's, whether it's an illness or a family illness where they have to, take their kid and travel to go to wherever family is, or if it's, the kid, medical reasons and stuff. That's where it gets a little bit tricky with independent study. But we're continuing to work on the communication, the letters, the contacting parents, and then working with our cost team about and our student attendance review team. We have not had to have any of our student attendance review team meetings yet, just because we have not had people meet that threshold. But we definitely have that ready to go if we need to, as we hit the 100-day mark and go on from there.
You mentioned earlier in your comments about a parent not understanding that an excused absence is still an absence. That sounds like a communication issue. Do we have a lot of that?
We have not, but I think one of the things I want to do is, the nice thing now we have, Lisa is doing some of our social media, Thrill Share is blasting out. The county has all these different flyers. Like, did you know that, if you miss X number of school days when you're in kindergarten, this is where you'll be in 3rd grade. There's some things like that. And there's some of those little blurbs about the, the concert that you went to, that is a excused absence, but it still counts, again, so getting that information out there, I think is what I kind of want to do in little bits and pieces. But most know. And I think, our community is really good. There is a lot of illness. Some of our staff, we have, our own staff, their kids are out and just illnesses. Some of it's just unavoidable. All right, next slide. Okay, suspension rate. So for 23-24, we had 1.9% of our students were suspended in grades K-8. That was 8 students. Out of that 8, there were 3 of those students were students with disabilities, which again, that's kind of what we're looking for with differentiated assistance of our suspension rate and the different subgroups. That for 22-23, we had 3.2%, which was 14 students. So we've made some great gains there. I think there's a lot of different things. I think coming out of COVID, when kids came back to us, especially some of our middle schoolers, it was like, there are no rules. There are no,
Feral.
Yeah, for lack of better word, yes, they were. So it was getting those in place, the expectations, and this is school, this is how it works. So I feel like our teachers have done a great job really being clear about expectations, where the line is. CT, we have a handbook that we go through literally page by page with the students about what the behavior expectations are. I think our vape sensors and our cameras are great deterrents. The kids are very aware that they're there. I sat outside the bathrooms for like 6 months in a lawn chair. I haven't pulled out my orange chair, at all this year. So, and again, we have not had any suspensions, but we have things in place ready to go if we do have any of those things. Questions on suspensions? All right, and then here's our action plan for if we do have suspensions. So we are looking more at that restorative justice in terms of first offenses. So we would, the standard practice now is to, for first offense, put the kid, basically they're tethered to Area Sinai and they're going through on a computer doing a vaping module that has a pre and post test. It's not where, we're sending them home and they're playing video games, for the next day. So we have that ready to go. I test drove it by enrolling Kevin in a vaping module. He's almost completed. but I do feel like we're ready to go with that. And also the education piece. We're doing that parent and student education. We have screenagers tomorrow. We're going to do a March one. And then we'll do the Fentanyl High documentary, which we did last year, where that was put on by our Los Gatos High School former students. And Kyle, who put it together, who's now a freshman in college, is actually going to Zoom in and be here for that when we do that. So I think it's coming at it from different areas. And then for our elementary students is really pursuing those alternatives to suspension, right? Because those behaviors look very different than our middle school with the vaping and those things. Greer and I have been working on putting together a behavior support team. And that's something that we're going to roll out to our staff at our January PD. And it's just sort of like, here's this team. They can offer consults. They can, do this sort of thing. So I'm looking forward to rolling that out. I think it's something that's been needed at Loma. People ask me, do I think that their kids are no longer vaping and doing those things? I don't think we have solved for it. I think that we have moved it. But we are watching, and I mean, for the most part, our kids they're good kids. So yeah, but we're continuing to watch.
We have one more slide, right?
Yeah. Okay, so basically this is my last slide here. So basically, how did we do? And this is breaking, the dashboard is always our district dashboard, right? So just breaking apart the two schools to see. So if you look at the top one, Loma Prieta, we have 22, 23, and if you remember, we were in red. And then 23, 24, chronic hepatitis suspension, great. We moved the needle there. ELA and math, we definitely have, increased some of those. I think ELA is a huge win for us, going up to 45.5. I'm really excited to see our next year with our Amplify, our Sunday. I mean, I hear, if you talk with any of our kinder teachers or first grade teachers, they can't say enough about the programs that we're using for ELA now. And you even hear the kids. I mean, the kindergartners are they're using their sounds as they walk down the hallway. And, those letters make this sound. And I just don't remember ever seeing that or hearing that when our kids were learning phonics. So that's for Loma. And then CT, again, when you break it apart, we made some gains in terms of chronic hepatitis and suspension. ELA and math, of course, I always am looking, I'm like, well, we were here on ELA, and where did that go? And so looking at that, it's a decline of 7.1 from 22, 23 for ELA. And I was kind of trying to go through and see, what is that? And I think part of it is new 6th graders coming in, 8th graders going out. So we've got different kids. And then for this year is the first year that we have had reading intervention for CT. We've never had it over there. Michelle Bowen's working with a handful of kids. And I'm excited to see what our scores show for the next one, to see if we're seeing gains there. Reading intervention. I know that for years we've talked about there's a need for our middle schoolers to have reading intervention. We focus so heavily on Loma, so that I think will be interesting to see. And I think Amplify, we have a new curriculum. It's great, but it's intense. It's very content heavy to previous ELA curriculum that we've used in the past.
I do have a question, of course. You've mentioned, I don't know how many times, intervention, reading intervention, math, and so forth. And it sounds like it's been very productive. Do we have the right amount of intervention?
I think that's something that the team needs to look at. I think, it's so tricky for, talking more about the middle school, right? So if they're getting reading and math intervention, they're missing something else, right? So what are we pulling them from, and a lot of times we tend to do, electives and that sort of thing. And that's a little bit hard, right? Because a kid that's really struggling with math and reading, art may be the one time a day that they are just shining as their passion. So it's that real balance of, how much intervention can we do? What's the right amount? focusing on the kids. I think the reading intervention, I feel like I see more progress, I guess, with that one. I think it's easier to see, partly just because, you see them and you hear the kids. And then the math one's a little bit trickier for me. I can't quite put my finger on, do we have the right process in place? Do we have the right intervention, curriculum? And again, it's something that's new to us that we're doing. But I would like to see us make some changes. I don't think we should toss it out. I think the interventions are needed. I think the team just needs to look and see what can we do to make it more effective.
Thank you.
But if you're looking for any gifts from me, I'll take more cameras.
I knew about the cameras thing.
Right, Paul? I want one on Aaron's driveway pointed up.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, we made some great gains this year, and it was really a team effort. And I can't say enough about Julie and Lisa last year. I mean, Julie taught us so much about how to pull out the data from Power School and all that, and Lisa has just taken it and is running with it. So yeah, it's an amazing team.
Good to hear.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you. Great. District calendars?
District calendars, all right. So we have been in the, started last year, brought back with the high school and the feeder districts, Saratoga, Las Gatas, us, and Lakeside, to try and our best to align calendars with the high school. For obvious reasons, if one of us is not in session and the other is, it's pretty easy to make an excuse if you have kids at both not to go. Make that a longer weekend or something. So aligning calendars help. It also helps just with coordinating parents. So they don't have one kid at home on daycare and one. It makes it tough. So we once again met with them, and we want to kind of do this to give our community a chance if we can help them in any way, especially around like, when can I take a vacation? Well, here you go, because we have the exact calendar. So for the next 2 years, you can plan vacation. And I know Yosemite's at least 1 year out to book anything. So you have knowledge to get there. You don't have to make an excuse. So this is our 25, 26, and 26, 27 calendars. They're aligning very well with the other districts, which is good. The high school is shuffling to Discover, doing for the next year's the whole week off again at Thanksgiving. They used to try to linger in. They didn't, so that was a good change for them. They made some modifications for that. We will align on near the start of school and the end of school like we usually do, where we finish Thursday, they finish Friday. So the graduations and stuff, it's easy to do. They do have a few more days of teachers in service or work days for teachers, non-student days, but the teachers are in. We in the 25, 26, and 26, 27, unique characteristics of these calendars. Halloween falls where it should, Friday or Saturday, which is wonderful. We only get this every, 5 or 6 years. So, it's kind of nice. So for 25, 26, Halloween is on a Friday. Normally, we've always said, oh, God, we need to make the 1st a national day of mourning for the candy and teachers and staff, which we don't have to this time. So what we've opted to do is move the date. We will have an October PD like we typically have had, where it's right towards the beginning, so we can jump on some things that we may start with. But then our other one will be that we'll actually try and experiment, because we can, for these next 2 years, with the Halloween being the first being the day after on the weekend, that we'll move a January professional development day, so that it's going to try to see how it is, because coming back from 2 weeks off is tough. Picture jumping on a running treadmill as like what it is for teachers after 2 weeks off to jump back into it, right? So here you go. Now we have an opportunity. We'll do a PD. They'll be able to come back to their rooms. They won't have to feel like they came on the weekend to do all that work and what have you. They can jump in. We can do a PD on that Monday, and then the kids can join us. Right now, the high school is waiting to do, they're trying to see if they want to go that route. So that's why theirs is still in draft. But we are good with ours to try that for these 2 years. but our October and the beginning in August and the end will align. And then our other dates coordinate: winter break, spring break, holiday break are all in there. We will continue to work. One of the things that was floated by the teachers was looking at a conversation around a week off in October, but it might be a challenge because it's hard not to do that without either extending the calendar year, like beyond where we get out in June, which would exceed where the high school gets out, or starting sooner, which would start before the high school starts. So, but we can kind of look and see what dates are movable or not movable, like some holidays you're floating and you can put them wherever. But we'll work with the unions to do it. We figured that would take a little time of messaging. So we wanted to get at least 25, 26, and 26, 27 out in front for you guys. So the unions have seen them and they're okay with them. Do you have a question from the audience? Do you have a comment?
Questions? All right, do we have
Yeah.
I have a quick comment. I just wanted to say, yes, having the early October PD is great because, like, in my case, I have 2 days off that very first beginning of October. And then my little kid doesn't, right? So the inclination is, oh, she's just in 3rd grade, what's missing a couple of days to go do this, take advantage of a 4-day break. So incorporating with the high school would be really nice.
Great.
The only caveat is that then the gala, which is the first weekend in October, like
Everybody
they
leaves.
couldn't find as much volunteers and that kind of stuff, and I think it's because the high school is half.
That's why for 20 years, we did not do that.
So, my 2 cents.
Yeah.
And we can't change that, right? That's, yeah, we're not.
At this point, yeah.
No.
Do I have a motion to adopt proposed calendars?
I'll make the motion to adopt the proposed calendars for the next 2 years.
Second? And Ron?
Aye.
Aaron? And I'm I as well.
We'll go ahead and post them up so parents can know, and we'll kind of push them out to the community on our website.
Do you post the high school one as well?
I don't think we do. No, we direct them to the high school. Just so for lack of, confusion. I don't
Yeah,
want to
I
cause
wasn't
confusion.
advocating for that. I think there's an error on it, so,
Yeah, no, it's in draft form anyway,
yeah,
right now,
exactly.
for the high school.
Okay, 6.6, the waiver?
So the next 2 items, 6.6 and 6.7, have to do with each of the calendars. Then we have to make a resolution as to when we're moving certain holidays. So this is number 1. We always have to kind of make a resolution as to where Lincoln's Day would be held. So that's what they are. So, 25, 26, it's saying that it would be on February 20th. And then the other date, 26, 27, would be February 19th.
So I'll move that we adopt resolution 25-9 as presented.
Second? And Denise?
Aye.
Aaron? Aye. I'm as well. And 6.7,
It's the same thing.
it's
with
the
other.
same thing.
Yeah.
It's just the,
25
and a second?
I'll second.
And Denise? Aye. Aaron? Aye. I as well. And that is the last item. We removed item 6.8 from our agenda. We're gonna hold that.
Yeah.
Consent, do I have a motion to approve the consent items?
I make the motion to approve the consent items.
I'll second.
And Nora?
Aye.
Ron?
Aye.
And I'm I as well.
Aye, aye, aye.
And,
And I'm gaveling us out at 8:30.
oh, my goodness. That means the sticker bar is coming in.